Hello, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Barking Up the Right Tree and our little chats about reactivity. And today we talk about the little things that make all the difference. So if you're tuning in, then please put a little note in the chat. Let us know that you're here. I keep saying us, but you notice somebody very important is missing. So Julia can't make it today. She's got some important family stuff she needs to take care of. Um, so you've got to do with me. Please let me know if you're here. I'm trying to see the chat. Let me see if I can post fruit in the chat, and then we can take it from there. Fruit cakes. Oh, can you hear this? That's the siren and Falky. Hey, folks, what's it? What's it? I know, it's very noisy. Can you sit? Come here. Good boy. Yeah. Oh, good girl. Yeah, yeah, it was very noisy. Here, have a cookie. He was busy with his licky mat, and then he wanted to have a meltdown because our siren is going. So, okay, I was gonna try and see if I can make this chat thingy work. Let's see. I can't find. That's disappointing. I was looking for an aubergine emoji, but it doesn't seem to have it. Okay, guys, if you're here, please let me know. Otherwise, I feel very lonely. But I will just get going. Okay, so today we talk about little things that can make a huge difference. So here's a question for you. Have you ever noticed how wearing your comfiest shoes can make you feel more confident? Well, at least for me, it's the comfy shoes that make me feel more confident. For you, it might be the fancy shoes. So if you want to feel your best, are you going to dress up really nice and stylish? Or are you more the, "Ooh, I just want my jeans, t-shirts, and trainers look, and then I feel the comfiest. I mean, the more most confident." Anyway, put that in the chat if you coming in late or if you watching this on the replay, then feel free and share with us which shoes make you feel more confident. Is it the heels or is it the trainers? And the thing is, our dogs are the same. They just wear different shoes, right? So today we want to talk a little bit about small daily habits that can influence our dog's reactive behavior and also how we show up for them. And then what to look for and what to notice in your own dog. And then some easy things that you can change out that will make a big difference. So recently, I've started a habit of when we come back from a walk. So we drive out into the desert, we run the dogs there, then we come back, we offload them. There's the three of them. They come out of the car. They're a bit excited. I'll be back home now. And they might notice something in the yard. They might hear the neighbor dog bite, and then there is excitement, or it might trigger one of them, and then the other one, it kind of influences all of them. And then we go inside and might make tea, hang about the kitchen, have a tea or something, boy. And oftentimes the dogs are still a little bit wound up. Not necessarily immediately come back super tired from their walk. Well, they might be tired, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they immediately come. So I used to, one thing that I used to do is we get into the kitchen and then I had some licky mats ready, or often I didn't have the licky mats ready. So then I would start getting, so it was a bit of a delay. So I had some barking, running around, and some of the behaviors that I don't like to see so much. So what I switched is instead of the licky mats that require me to be organized and prepared before we go out for the walk, I started just doing a scatter feed in the garden. So we would come, we have to go across the garden from the garage into the house. So the dogs get released from the car one by one, and I'd put a handful of little treats just in the grass, and they start sniffing and eating up those treats. They love that. I'm sure lots of you are using scatter feeds. So this isn't rocket science. But what is really cool about it is that apart from having the treats on hand, you don't actually have to prep much in advance. So then while we all get inside, change our shoes, get rid of the jacket, put the stuff down, and move into the kitchen to get tea, the dogs are already settled a little bit from their little safari in the garden after the walk. So it helps them regulate a bit. And then we all move into the kitchen, and I find that they settle down pretty much straight away and curl up in their beds. So this is something that's helped us. And maybe you've got little routines that work for you. So please let's hear it. Share some. Yay, guys! Now I see you. Hi, Sue. Hi. Oh, is it Jan or is it train key? You said depends on where I'm going. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you might have a bit of a dress code, right? Or something of that sort. But um, I I'm with Sue. I tend to feel better in comfy shoes rather than not. In fact, a couple of weeks ago when I was in Germany, it was my niece's Abitur, so the graduation dance, and strangely, it's not how we used to do it when we were youngsters, but it involved the old people. So the parents and family members, went to the dance. And I kind of knew, but I totally neglected to pack anything suitable to wear. I kind of, what is the word? When you repressed the thought. And was kind of hoping that I could borrow something from my sister, which I could and which I did. But it was a whole like, and what shoes, like her shoes won't fit me. So I ended up wearing a dress with trainers. And that was nice. I could dance in them. I felt quite good. And I just pretended that it was like the latest in fashion. Anyway, but we were talking about little habits about your walk. If there's something that you do that really works for you to get the dogs into the right frame of mind, please share it. Because I'm sure everyone would like to know what your tricks are. Um, little little things, small adjustments are really cool to reduce stress, right? Both for the dogs as well as for us, because it also kind of changes the starting picture. Because very often we talked about this, not last week, week before, I think, we were talking about routines and dogs that are, we had an example of a dog on holiday who was so much better than at home, right? And I think the picture of where we walk and how things happen and how we start off at home, all those things are associations for our dogs that set them up in a particular frame, right? So all the things that we can do to get our dogs into a frame of us and the dogs into a frame of mind that's conducive to calm behavior, less arousal, less fear, less stress will be good. So that's about safety, right? Adjusting some of our routines to prevent all the overwhelm. It's also about health and nutrition, pain management, diet tweaks, all those kind of things. It's about our awareness of what's going on. So spotting really small signals in our dogs, but also being aware of what's going on in the environment. And then, of course, and lots of enrichment as well as the exercise. And if we can't, if our problem with the reactivity is too big right now, then we might not be able to take our dogs for walks. So then we have to focus on what kind of exercise we can do at home more than, even more than normal. And very often we find that that is actually, our dogs are more tired because it's a new thing and because it needs a lot more mental focus also from them when we do, little body awareness games at home to get them exercised. Yeah. So whatever little shift from any of these categories you might do, it's a little bit like starting your day with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee instead of a cold shower, right? So do you have a tiny change that you've made for your dog that's worked wonders? Please share it. Thank you, Jantin. Okay. All my shoes are comfy. Um, Took a while before I decided nothing else. Okay, that's great. I like that. And then starting to treat in the kitchen. Yeah, that's a good one. I really like that. I really like that. So giving our dogs food, treats, interacting with them in a positive and calming way through food is definitely something that we want to do at home in the situations where they might get a bit overwhelmed. In my case, the kitchen can be that place because they might hear noises from our neighbors' properties or, just see something through the windows that go onto the veranda and the garden. The curtains are open. Yeah, definitely. Those are good tricks. So if you've got more, just put them in. If you're watching on the replay, please put it in the comments or share it in our Facebook group because it's great. It's great, for us to share the little tweaks that we do to give each other better repertoire. And then here's another thing that's important about small adjustments is that it has a bit of a ripple effect, right? So some of the examples that we can, some of the things that we can do are just changing the time. Like if we always do things at the same time, if it becomes too predictable, then our dogs anticipate and they're already in this more excited stage because they know it's about to happen, right? So if we shift the times that we do things, even by just little increments, I mean, just 10 minutes, we just do something else first and then we do the thing so that we stay predictably unpredictable. So we want a certain amount of routine because that creates safety, but we also don't want it to be totally predictable like clockwork, right? Things like a sniffy break before tricky moments, like my treat scatter, for example, after the walk, but I might use that during a walk as well, right? Here, structuring the walk and then just allowing the dogs to either sniff what's in the environment or set it up by hiding my own treats. That's a good one, right? And then another one that I like is, especially when tricky moments around the home are often, to do with things that happen outside at the front door, either deliveries, people coming to visit. Anybody got problems with this? You know, put a put a tomato in the chat if you tend to find those moments challenging, people coming to the door either to deliver things or to visit. So something that we can do about that is make time every day just for a few minutes to practice calm behavior in that environment, by the door, in your hallway, whatever it looks like for you, right? Just go there and ask your dog to do some simple behaviors and then just go and reward them for being calm. Practice some collar grabs, reward them for four paws on the floor, just so that you get used to it, they get used to it. Make a point of doing that maybe every time you go and make a cup of tea before you put on the kettle, you just go and you will do a little bit of calm behavior in your entrance hall, right? That can make a huge, huge difference because you're now rehearsing the behavior that you want in the environment where you tend to get over arousal. Other things are being conscious about rest, right? Giving your dog nap time, very focused, very conscious, scheduled nap time during the day, even if it's just 15 minutes, right? Where you make sure that they're in a space where they're not being disturbed, where they can choose something or just sleep. Can be created. If you don't like creating, you just, make sure that they're in a very calm environment. What else could we do? We could just give them a rest day, not walk them every day. I personally find if I change my walking route, you know, like for my off-leash walks in our desert environment here, if I go take a different route, my dogs will be very different in their behavior because less predictability, less familiarity, and more to check out. I haven't been here before, so I need to sniff and check who's been here. There might be different scents because it's slightly different. So that I find that if I'm doing the same route day after day after day after day, they can be more excitable. And then also, of course, depending what last happened in that environment, that might still be attached to it. So that's another thing. What else could we do? What else can we do? Ah, Sue, the fence fighting, yes. Cool. And then Sue says, Remy loves a good game of chasing in the house for a few minutes and will then settle. Hmm. And that's absolutely fine, isn't it? If you know that it doesn't get out of hand, that's his routine, perfect. Then we just stick with that. That's great. Hi, Camilla. You're not late at all. You're exactly precisely at the time that you need to be here, like a wizard. Um, okay, and Jan, I don't know how to say this. Jantine and Sue both have the problem with the back fence and a dog that constantly barks, and Remy just can't ignore it. Okay, let's talk about that. That's a great one. What have you, let's put a question in first. Can you, just in a few words, share a few of the strategies that you've already tried so I don't repeat that stuff? Because I know we talked about this before. So put in the chat, both of you, put in the chat what you've tried so far about the barking neighbor dog across the fence. And then we'll get into that some more. Right. Okay, so what we would like to do uh, is this week, I would like to encourage you to pick one new thing, one tiny little tweak, one little different habit or habit that you can change in order to create a new picture, maybe. So, no pressure. It's not supposed to be a big thing, just something that might set you up for more success. But if it doesn't, then you can try something else, right? So not a big major thing, just one small shift. I mean, it could just be taking your dog's favorite toy along, right, on your walks. And sometimes even because that's just a security blanket, right? Either for your dog to feel comfy, depending where you go, or it could just be, I know that I feel better if I have my toy with me, well, my dog's toy, because I know that is something that Stevie really values. So if I don't have a toy with me, and only food rewards. Not that she doesn't like food, but the toy is definitely more valuable, so I like having it, even if I end up not using it much. Okay, so while you guys think on that and what shift you can share it now, but you don't have to. Again, no pressure. Let's talk a little bit about what we don't want to do. So there are some common pitfalls around making some changes, and that is that we expect dramatic instant results. Sometimes that happens, right? But we can't, it's better not to expect that. And just to make often I see only retrospectively, my goodness, it's much easier now. What have I changed? And then, yeah, that's working much better. Or because I look into my journal. So I try to keep a log of, how I do these things, especially when it is around things that really bother me, then it really helps to journal it a little bit. And also it shows you what's currently happening and where you can maybe do a shift. So it's good to unearth stuff, and it's also good, the journaling, it's also good to go back and have a look. It's hard doing this without Julia, hey guys. It's really hard. I feel like I'm talking nonstop. And like, it's very different. It's very different from having a conversation. I hope. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can't wait for next week when she's back. Anyway, another pitfall that we want to avoid is doing too much all at once. If you make like three different shifts, then you don't necessarily know which one is the one that helped you. It could also create too much strangeness for your dog, right? Those of you with really sensitive dogs that need a certain amount of predictability and routine to feel safe, they could get overwhelmed if you change too many things. So we want to be creative, but also careful. Mm. And then sometimes it's about the things that we've stopped doing, right? And we can only notice that when we stop doing it. So this is a so when I started, um and for many years still, my dog, in my whole sort of journey as a dog owner and a dog trainer, um I was very focused on feedback, right? Feedback for the dog. Like, this is working, this is not working, this is correct, this is incorrect. So I would use signals to let my dog know that this is not a good choice. So, things like, don't do this, stop it. That still slips out on occasion because we're all just human. But, I used to do that quite a lot. And what I didn't realize is how tremendously confidence, what's the word? Reducing? It's not a good re shattering. That is. So for our dogs to feel confident around us, for our dogs to feel that they can try stuff, for our training, when we actively training the dogs, for that to really work, we need them to be really confident and happy to offer us stuff. And if we tell them no too many times, even though what they're doing is not what we want, then, you know, then they won't present us with suggestions, if you like. They won't offer us any behaviors. So this is I try to not do that at all anymore. And I find that my dogs are generally so much more confident to offer stuff and respond to me when I try to redirect them. So that's just something to think about. But there are other examples, I'm sure, where we stop doing a thing and then it has a big impact. So if you can think of some, please share them. And then also, if you've thought about something that you want to try this week, right? And if you're happy to share it, then please share what small change you want to do this week. And then please, 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 if you have even the smallest wins this week, do share them in the group. Go over into the Facebook group and let everybody know, because it's really lovely. It's lovely for others, it's hope inspiring, but it's also nice for you. It's nice reinforcement. When we take a moment, just put it there. You don't need to make a huge effort. It can be really brief. I had a win. This is it, right? And when others cheer you on, and I want you guys to feel reinforced. So please come and let us know. Okay, so let's see. So we talking. Oh, Sue. Calling Remy back to me, saying enough in a low tone, bringing him inside. Okay. And Teen says, I started to tell Flux he's a good boy, started to feed him next to him at the fence. Now I can recall Flux after one bark wherever I am. But he starts again immediately the next time that dog barks. And then Camila brilliantly suggests, Sue, what about doing some calming, positive, free work near the fence or while you play a recording of a dog barking? And then, cool. Okay, this is really, really cool. Okay, so kudos to Camilla for suggesting to try free work. I would maybe not immediately jump to doing that with the trigger present. I think it's just a good thing to start off with the free work in a happy place. So Remy can really enjoy that, right? We want to get a nice groundwork. Of course, Julia is our expert on the free work stuff. And if you wanted to, Sue, you can put a post in the Facebook group and get some suggestions from people there also, besides obviously Googling Sarah Fisher, who's the queen who's invented the free work. Um, but I would still totally agree with Camila that working with Remy, um, and the same with Flux, in a positive way with triggers is a good idea, but you want to prep it. So first level, I see very distinct distinct difference. It's ridiculous. I see a difference between what you describe, although you're probably very, very similar, but just also for other listeners. So Sue, you were saying you call him back, you tell him enough, and you bring him inside. So I love that you get him away from the trigger and you take him inside so he's not longer exposed. That's great. I'm not sure about the telling him enough. If that's a positively loaded word for him and calms him, then that's absolutely fine. If it's more like on the, towards the negative on the scolding scale, then maybe not so much. Whereas Jantine said she's actively praising Flux, so using more positive vibes, to get him inside. So you can probably guess based on what I said earlier about not really telling my dogs no. I wouldn't. We always want to keep in mind that when our dogs are reacting to something like the other dog barking, they can't help themselves, right? So they're not doing anything right or wrong. They're just doing it and they can't help it. They're like losing it. So we can't really judge them for it. But we want them, apart from interrupting, we want them to get better. So first layer, Sue knows, I mean, you know that, and that's what you're doing is away from the trigger, closing the door, closing the window, playing some music so they don't have to hear the barking. Good. That gets the nervous system to settle. But then we also need to help them not to be triggered so much. So I would start with easy training exercises, things like collar grabs, sits and downs, nose targets, anything that your dog that Remy really enjoys, um, near small distractions. And I would start just in your normal training environment. And I would just change the picture. So when I say distraction, I don't immediately mean toys flying around or nothing big. Just change things. Turn everything around. If you're always standing, you facing the window, do it the other way around, he's facing the window. Things like that. Put a stuffed toy in the room, put a toilet paper roll in the room. I mean, whatever, just change so he gets used to change. And it's easy, 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 and he has no problem with it. It's great. He gets reinforced, confidence builds up, right? We're stacking the confidence. And then you can increase those distractions. Then you can say, well, you're doing so well. What if I toss cookies? And you still, what if I rustle wrappers or plastic bags? So you up the distraction level a little bit. So he gets used to actually responding to you with distractions, but again, distractions still low enough that he can actually be successful. So those are all the foundations we want to build. And then when all of this works really well, and now you know a behavior that's really cool and calming for you. So with Noah, for example, who was in too higher arousal state to hold his start lines in or even get into a starting position in agility, I would work with agility noises and I would have them recorded, like Carmela said, and then play them at a really low level. So there was no reaction from him. And he could totally then respond to my cue. So I wanted him, we were predominantly practicing a fall down. So you use whatever game that he really enjoys. And you have the noise of barking dogs, and you can either record your neighbor dog, or you can start with other dog vocalizations first that are maybe less triggering than that one. But you have to definitely start at a level that is super low so that he hardly notices it. And you do it in an environment where he's used to being successful. So that's inside. So you bring the distraction inside, you heat up the room with that distraction, but ever so slightly. And then when he's successful, you increase the volume, you increase the volume, you increase the volume. It's a bit like, getting into the bath when the water is too hot, we can't get in. But if we gradually warming the water up while we're in there, we get to a really high temperature without really knowing. Does that make sense? Anyway, I mean, I don't normally get into cold water either, warm it up, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. So that would be my advice for the fence scenario. And then also another thing is because you can't control that distraction at this point. So while you're working on getting him used to it in those ways, and it might take definitely a few days, it might take a few weeks, going through layer by layer by layer by layer. Um, until you get to actually using the biking. Um, so I wouldn't let him run around in the yard at those times when the other dog is likely to bike. I would just go out with him on lead so that you can avoid him running over there and barking. And then you can do some hand targets with him and then further away from that distraction, if that's a possibility for you. What do you think? That's a lot of stuff. Okay, and then so I leave you with that. Think about it, and then if you have further questions on it, feel free to post them in the Facebook group, and we can talk about it some more. We also have Camila's question about what's your non-reactive dog's name? Anyway, I can't remember, Camila. So and you shared the same one. You shared that he's got a habit of pawing at your face or neck when you sit. Oh no, when she sits on me. Okay, so she sits on you and then she paws at your face or your neck. And then my theory is that she's mimicking stroking, and it does seem that it's done with affection, even though it hurts due to her claws, and I have to dissuade her from doing it. If I kiss her nose, she always responds with a lick. Oh, to lick your nose, yeah. Which is why I think she's mimicking stroking. However, I would love to know what you guys think. I love this. This is really cool. So, Carmela, what I think is that dogs love to lick things and they love to use their paws to do stuff, right? Some dogs use their mouth and their teeth more. If you play games like the Muffin Tin game, right? They will go in there with their faces. Other dogs will immediately go and try to paw, to get at things. Most dogs will use a combo of both. And I my hallucination here is that those are just behaviors that are in your dog's repertoire. She's enjoying herself. She might want more interaction, and therefore she paws you. I also suspect that she stops pawing you when you give her attention in the way that she enjoys, like stroking or scratching her belly or whatever it is that you do when she's on your lap. But when you stop doing that, then that's what I suspect. Then she paws you, and that's a way of her saying, come on, carry on. Hmm? And then the licking. So dogs do lick each other's. Well, I need to take that away from you. Because you will eat that. Have some cookies instead. Here you go, sweetie pie. There you go. So, yeah, does that make sense? Let me first see if Camilla's still here and Parker. Parker is the sane dog. I don't think I've heard you. I didn't know. I don't think I knew that. Anyway, so think about if that makes sense, what I just explained about the pawing. And with the licking, I also think she just does that. So like a response. I mean, if you see dogs interact with each other nose to nose, they might lick each other's faces. Sometimes this is part of the so-called appeasement stuff, like a displacement behavior, something they do in interaction. Sometimes they might lick our faces because I don't know, there might still be gravy there. Um, and it could also be, I mean, does she really like to have her nose kissed? Just putting it out there. It's only for you to know. So those are my thoughts on this matter. We don't have Julia here to give in to provide her perspective, but yeah, let us know if you feel that kind of covers it. I definitely don't think that that is that she's trying to mimic what you do. I think it's really just something they do. They pour the door to want it to open. They pour your leg to get something. It's just I believe that it's just a repertoire of behaviors, and this is the one that's associated with um wanting something. Okay. So Camilla says she's very caring. Parker is very caring and affectionate, so it makes sense. Okay, good. But we can keep thinking about it. Um, and have a bit of a back and forth on it in the group. Right, so that's it for today. Oh no, Sue mentioned we can walk around the street with dogs barking behind fences and then he can ignore them. It's just at home. Okay, cool. Okay. So then Sue, what I still would for the larger long-term picture, I would still do the layers that I suggested earlier, but it also shows you that there is an association. So there is that particular dog in this particular situation, in this particular environment. That's just too much. And that has a lot to do with past history and memory, right? This is happening. Wow, I have to overreact. I get that here too. So, or vice versa, Falky will get completely bonkers if I'm walking him off leash in the dunes and there are what I call Tweety birds. He hears the birds in the bushes, right? The same birds in our garden, he doesn't care about it. Because it's a different environment, it's a different memory. There isn't a history of chasing those and getting really high on his own adrenaline running around, right? And I think what's happening the other way around with a particular dog in the garden. So that set him off once or twice. Then he ran, and now he's got this habit. He keeps running there. So now we need to think about how can we change that habit. So using the lead is one possibility. Initially, just interrupt so this doesn't happen for a while, and then build new habits in the yard, and then things like scatter feeding in another corner, maybe initially again on the lead so he can't go off there, or doing training exercises. So scatter feed is great because the dogs, are calming. It's a bit like the ACE-free thing. I'm just a bit cautious of, I wouldn't want you to poison your ACE-free work by having it linked to the trigger too early. I'll probably come across a little bit scatterbrained today. What I definitely would do is nice training games that your dog loves. I would do those in another corner on a lead to be a new routine, new habits, and so that so that Remy can say, "Ah, okay, that dog is barking, but I'm doing something exciting with mom." Does that make sense? I hope so. If not, let us know and we'll come back to it. We definitely want you and Remy to have fun in your garden, neighbors notwithstanding. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks so much for sticking it out with me today, even though we didn't have the wonderfully amazing, brilliant Julia with us today. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was a wee bit interesting. And please keep your questions coming. Rather than, us coming up with topics, the more you share about what you would like us to talk about and your own questions and struggles, the more you share about that in the group, the more we can make these lives useful for you. Cool. Thanks so much. And we'll see you next week. And we'll see you in the group in the meantime. And do share some of your wins and some of your changed little routines. I'm really curious. So is Falky. He just said so. Okay, cheers, guys. Let me find the button. And we'll see you soon.